All right, so now that we understand the concept of creating masks, using smart masks, playing with mask generators, and so forth, we can go ahead and use some of the smart materials because it's going to save us a lot of time because somebody did all the work for us, pretty much. So let's see if we can use some of the smart materials here on these wheels. So select this texture set and let's see what we have. So just gonna scroll down here, and I'm gonna use this steel dark aged. So I'm simply gonna drag this in my layer stack, and I'm immediately getting some really cool results. So if I expose this, let's see what we have. Essentially, we only have two different materials. So we have this metal, which has a filter on top, and then we have this scratches material, which essentially has some mask. So we have a fill layer, and we have some filters on top, which are multiplied and blended in a different way. And you can reverse engineer how this has been done if you like, and absolutely welcome. And I'm inviting you to always try to figure out how something has been created. But right now, I simply like the result, so I'm going to use it as is. And I'm going to only apply this to a section of the wheel. So again, black mask, and add paint. So just want to use them on the rims. We do have our chrome, which we can pull up over here. And yeah, that looks great. We'll do the same thing for this device on top. Let's use something else. Let's see. We have a lot of options here. We can experiment. So I'm going to drop this guy. Not liking it. Let's use maybe this one. Yeah, this one looks better. Okay. Let's see what's hidden underneath. So we have this sharp layer with the sharpened filter. We have rust. We have paint. Pretty much what we did for the body itself, just with some added rust, as you can see here. The rust is too intense. Otherwise, I do like how it looks. So let's go to the mask editor of the rust. And I'm simply gonna drop down maybe the texture. That's being used. Contrast. Okay, here is this is where grunge is being controlled, or rather the texture. You see, we have the first and the second texture, which we're controlling here, their intensities. And you can pick which textures are used down here. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. You can change the balance. So this is some kind of scratch texture. So now it looks more like dirt, which I think it's fine. And by the way, here in the layers, each material also has blending modes, just like in Photoshop. So for instance, right now it's at normal, but you can change it to something like, I don't know, maybe overlay, you see. So now it's using overlay blending mode. So you can also play with that. And these blending modes are connected to the channel which is currently active here. So what we're seeing here in the layer stack of all of these materials are basically different channels. So right now we have the base color, but you can also change this to maybe, I don't know, roughness. And now you can independently change the blending mode of the only roughness channels here on the layer stack. And if you want to preview how these channels look like in the viewport, you can click C. So this is the height map. C again, this is the normal map combined with the height map. So you can see all the, the scratches and everything else, which is, seen through the mask. C again, that's the mask itself. That's the base color. And this is, this is a good way to see how, this blending mode works. So overlay, normal, you see, and then you can use, different things like, I don't know, hard light, inverse subtract, all sorts of different blending modes. See again, this is metallic. So you see everything that's bright is essentially something that has metallic nature. Everything that's black is a non-metallic material. And the checkerboard essentially doesn't have material applied to it yet. So if you look here, tires are made out of rubber, which is not a metal. But then this part is chrome, and this is why it's completely white. So if you click on the M again, I'm going to expose all the channels. So we're going to see essentially the material with all the channels turned on, just like this. So metal, non-metal. I'm not going to worry about glass for now. This is something that I actually want to do in Substance Stager. So I can actually turn it off just for a second, so you have a better understanding what's happening underneath. Okay, I'm going to continue working on the interior. So let's see, this is the interior. So I think it's going to be easier to just hide everything, expose the interior. Since we're not going to be able to see a whole lot of interior, I don't really care that much about the quality of the materials we're using here. So again, I'm just going to use a smart material to save myself some time. So I'm going to try several options. I'm going to go with something that's going to solve. Yeah, this works. So again, plenty of stuff that has been done for us, which is amazing. Maybe change the color of this base material to something like gray. It's cool. And then, darker, lighter color underneath, something like this. And of course, if we were showing the close-up of the interior, we would actually have to go ahead and do proper textures for all of this. But we're never going to be able to see any of that, and it's going to be hidden by the glass. So I'm actually going to be super lazy and just do it like this. Okay, show all, except class. And this body interior also needs to be done. And maybe let's use the same smart material, which we can, we can make an instance out of it. Only copy it here in the interior, like that. Perfect. And well, maybe we can change at least some of the materials, under the body of the car, of the van. So for that, I'm going to search for something interesting. So once again, let's go to our 3D assets and search for maybe some kind of metal. Diamond plate. That's the one that I want to use. So I'm going to send it to Painter. Here it is. And again, hide all, expose interior, not that one, but body interior, as they call it. And I can also turn on the UV map for this texture set. So it's going to make it easier for me to just select, this piece inside. Let's drop this here. I can make it smaller and visualize in a really nice way the size of the pattern, like this. I don't need this to be selected or applied to everything. So black mask, add paint, UV, chunk, fill, and I'm going to fill just this part over here. And maybe this part as well. And maybe, let's see, do I want this thing? Yeah, I think this is great. So if you want to visualize displacement, let me show you how this is done. So I'm going to zoom in really close. I'm going to go to my shader settings. Displacement has been enabled, and I'm going to change the scale. And immediately you can see that we are getting, some displacement, but it's super rough because what we need to do is we need to increase the subdivision count significantly, as so. And now you can see that this is how this material can actually displace the geometry itself. And we can fine tune the scale, of course. And you can see that actually this material is, it's displacing the surface in a really cool way. And there are ways you can play with this. For instance, we can select the material, we can add filter, select blur, and you see now we can actually blurring, this material and along with the displacement itself. And I can also just select, the height channel. So I don't want to blur anything else. I only want to blur displacement, which is essentially height, right? And now I can really play around with, the intensity of the effect. Another way to reduce, the strength of displacement is by going here, layers, go to height, and then I can change the height opacity, essentially, right? Okay, I think I'm happy with this one because, again, we're never going to be able to even see it. So, show all, And just to improve the performance, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the displacement, and I actually went with a pretty high value. So go back to 0 and disable it just to be safe. And now the performance is back. I'm gonna play with the color of this metal. I think this blue color doesn't work well. So maybe something like this. For now, I can copy. And then I'm going to paste the same color value here. I like this a little better. Let's add a few more materials here at the top, make these cables a bit more interesting. So actually you have some copper braided cable materials. So maybe I use one of those. Again, black mask, paint, and let's fill using object fill. All right. Obviously, it's too big, so I'm gonna go to the properties of this material and change the scale to a lower value like this. Yeah, this looks great. Maybe add it over here. Seems like I'm getting some kind of bug. All right, cool. I'm going to change the color, or let's see, maybe add some dirt, some oxidation. I think that's kind of cool. This thick cable, let's make it maybe black. So let's see what we have here. Smart materials, my favorite. Maybe one of these. Who's this guy? I don't know. Yeah, this one's better. Yeah, okay. Maybe I don't even need this layer, so just leave it like this. I think it's fine. All right. Now I would like to add some ambient occlusion grunge on the entire model. So let's see how we can do that. So for instance, I'm going to select the very first texture set, the body front, and I'm going to create a fill layer, just a basic fill layer, and I'm only going to use the color. And now here, what I actually want to do is I want to use ambient occlusion map as so. And just to illustrate what's happening here, I'm going to turn off everything else. And I'm going to hide all texture sets except the body front. So what I'm doing here, essentially, I'm using ambient occlusion map, which has been baked at the beginning, as the base color, right? And I can actually call it maybe occlusion, right? And so I can turn back on everything underneath. And now I'm going to change the blending mode of this occlusion layer to multiply. So now we're getting this occluded darkness, which is coming through this material. And what's cool, what we can do right now is we can create an instance of this occlusion layer. And Painter is intelligent enough that it's actually going to use different occlusion maps depending on the texture set where it's being instant to. So I'm going to use all of them. And now, as you can see, it is using dedicated occlusion maps across the board. And so this is a cheap way to kind of add a little bit of detail. And of course, I don't want this to happen everywhere. For instance, the interior is now quite dark because the occlusion, everything has been occluded, right? Because it was underneath the glass. So the occlusion map for the interior is probably black. And so I'm actually not even going to use this. See, it's completely black. I'm not going to use it. Same for the body interior. Just not going to use it there. And what is this? These are the details. So for details, since this was also covered by glass, as you can see, it's also black. And so now I can create a white mask here and just remove those sections of the instanced occlusion layer. So I'm going to go to mesh. It's at 0, so I'm removing the influence from here as well, and that's fine. I think that was good. Okay, and in the next video, we're gonna start adding some signs.